Nathan Buckley and Mick Malthouse were a formidable force when it came to Collingwood. The captain and the coach, they've experienced a lot in footy, but a first for them this week when Bucks went to interview the old coach.
The Bombers have won it. The Magpies left to ponder how and why.
Mick, just out of the Anzac Day loss, it was you mentioned it was one of the most disappointing losses you've been involved in. What do you take from that game?
We can't ignore the past, and we didn't play it out for 100 minutes, and Essendon did, and they won the game because they were better at the right times, but I thought they upheld the Anzac spirit far better than what we did.
They have snatched victory from the jaws of defeat.
Has your pressure as a team been consistent enough, been good enough over the course of the year so far?
No, it hasn't. I couldn't tell you who's leading the tackle count, but I'll make a suggestion that would be probably Shane O'Brien. We would want to have a far larger input by all players. I shouldn't have to be able to say, I think it's Shane O'Brien. I should be able to say, well, it could be one of 10. When we are at our best, we are tackling well, we're defending well, we are blocking well, we are doing the little things that make Collingwood a good football side.
I think you mentioned that pressure, consistency of pressure. I look at St Kilda now and I think the footy they play is quite similar to the best football that Collingwood can play. Would that be accurate?
They've been written off now for 2 or 3 seasons because the experts say that their time had come and gone. I think the St Kilda side is a very, very good football side, and it's enhanced by that very prospect of them knowing every time they go on the ground that they're going to be intense, they're going to tackle well, they're going to not have anyone get an easy or cheap possession.
It seems to me it's based on the same philosophy that you bring to your coaching, which is you've got to close the opposition down first and then worry about screwing up.
St Kilda do the things now which is enhancing their defensive prospects, not because they're doing them now, they did them last year, but they're doing them more consistently. This is something that we've got to get back to, that now at the moment we're part way there in each one of them, but we're not fully there in any of them. We freely admit that no line at this stage is really functioning to its what we would like. I'm not going to say potential, it may well be potential, but we've got to get better.
The ruck position has been something else that's sort of been highlighted at the early part of the year, and either Chris Bryan and Cameron Wood haven't come up to the grade, and from my perspective I reckon you're sending them a message as much as anything else by playing Josh on his own.
Well, Josh is not on his own, he's got Lee Brown. If we're judging Josh on the weekend, well, it's unfortunate we have to judge him on one game. In the last 4 weeks, I would say he's been certainly our best 3 or 4 in 3 of the previous weeks. Our value of him on the weekend was that he was around about level with Ruck.
That's not the assessment of other people.
Well, you know what? The other people don't pick the side, and the other people that choose these, I have little faith in their assessment of players.
Yep.
So I certainly don't get caught up in what other people think outside the football club, Nathan. You should know that.
Do you move the ball quick enough as a team? I mean, you like to use the boundary to move the ball forward, mainly by kicking, and you need hard work in front of the ball to create that.
I don't know if you have to have hard work. What you have to have is have smart players in front of you.
Yeah.
Do we move the ball quick enough? I think when Heath Shaw and Nick Maxwell on the side, I think we can be considered to be running it pretty well.
Yep.
We can rob Peter to pay Paul. We can play Daisy Thomas down there.
He's one of the hardest runners in the side, so you actually need those blokes.
But I think you've also got to look at, against Brisbane, to me, he was their best player. If you stop the clock on Saturday's game, when we're in front, people would have said, Dale Thomas did a great job on Dempsey. But that's overlooked because we lost the game.
Has there been an evolution in coaching, though, that people don't pick up on?
Where are you leaning to?
No, I mean, I would have thought that 10 years ago, the head coach, and even 20 years ago, the head coach did a lot more than, should have been more accountable than what he is now, because now it's a panel of coaches, isn't it?
Oh, no, the buck stops there. It's not the Nathan Bucks, but the Bucks.
Yeah.
The buck stops fair. You can have all the assistant coaches you like. You can have 1,000 if you like, or have one. Doesn't matter. Someone's got to take it the way it is in any business.
Good luck for the rest of the year, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
Okay.
Nathan, good stuff. Look, I reckon the external perception would be that there would be a bit of awkwardness there, you interviewing Mick. How did you find the experience?
It was a little bit awkward at the beginning, but there's so much water gone under the bridge between us. I've got great respect for Mick, and in the end it was just two blokes having a chat. I mean, a lot of people outside perceive it as something different, or would like to think that there's something untoward, but there's not. And it was a good experience.
Lee, you had something similar a couple of weeks ago.
No, nothing like this. That's sort of like the old bull and the young bull in a way. But I reckon Mick did it because he's a professional. Bucks did it because he's a professional commentator at this point of his life. And Mick did it because he's a professional coach. And it was two professionals doing their job.
It seems, though, Nathan, correct me if I'm wrong, that Mick was keen to keep the discussion purely on footy.
Yeah, and I would have done the same thing if I was in his position. We had a discussion, it was highlighted in the paper this morning, but we had a discussion before the interview took place, and he was very keen to keep the focus on the team. He didn't want to talk about himself, which was fair enough. There was plenty of questions that I think a lot of people would have liked to have been asked, but as the coach of the side, as the interviewee, he had every right to set the agenda, and as I said, I would have done the same thing. I've got too much respect for him to try and ambush.
Lee, it would seem that Mick has this opinion. You might know a bit about footy, but if you haven't coached, you don't know much about coaching. That's what seemingly is coming through. Do you adhere to that?
I agree with him totally. But most of us are a bit more diplomatic than Mick on that particular point. But the fact is, if you've never coached a footy team, you don't have to coach a senior AFL team, but if you haven't coached a footy team, it's a very unique function, and it's very hard to put yourself in any coach's shoes. And I think Mick tends to maybe have a little bit more tolerance for those who talk about coaching who've never actually done it yet.
And having been away for, a year and a bit now, do you still feel like you know Collingwood inside out like you did?
Well, I definitely have an affinity for them, the players, the coaching staff, the club itself. I like to see them do well, and I hope they do well tonight, well during the season, and I like to see them succeed, and I don't think that'll ever go away.
So Mick Malthouse here with Nathan Buckley. Tim Watson, by the way, is in the North Melbourne rooms at the moment. We'll be catching up with what's happening there. They need a big lift on this, a big weekend in footy with the second half coming up.